Two tails, one head, yin yang. Two tails, one head, yin yang. Two tails, one head, yin yang. This is the trigram Qian heaven. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Two tails, one head, yin yang. Two tails, one head, yin yang. This is Xun, wind or wood. Our bottom trigram again is solid, 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 which is Qian heaven. Qian is superhuman cosmic law. Enduring, he determines the nature and development of all things, from the movement of the stars to the cycle of the seasons, to causing each individual seed to grow into its own kind of plant. Heaven is creativity in its pure form, the force that drives change and what endures within it. He confronts us with truth in what it demands, both as the absolute law of nature and as the challenge of individual calling, experienced as an inner law. He is both the awareness of what to do and how to be, and also the power to act on it. Heaven is Father, found in the northwest, the realm between autumn and winter, when the buds set and seeds fall to earth. Our top or outer trigram will be read as broken, solid, solid. This is Xun, wind or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants, whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance, and so her influence is subtle and gradual, but far-reaching. In the family of Trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast and to late spring and early summer. Xun, wind or wood above Qian heaven, give us the hexagram 9. We will look at and get the title to our hexagram from I-ming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. It's quite alchemical in nature. Hexagram 9, I-ming calls Nurturance by the small. Nurturing inner strength by outward submissiveness, being firm but not impetuous, growing through humility. We'll start by looking at Hebe's I Ching tarot cards. She calls hexagram 9 small taming. Small taming, accumulating wealth little, saving any excess. Acting passively does not lose your sincerity. There is no need to show off your abilities. The top line is a metaphor for blessed rain. This guy's the butterfly sage. Looks like. Next, we will look at what Hilary Barrett has to say about nurturance by the small in walking your path, creating your future. It's a nice introductory I Ching commentary, yet also quite profound and lucid. When we consult the oracle and roll I Ching, The question we bring to it will always have the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time. Hexagram 9, small taming. Key questions. What small thing can I work on today? How can I cultivate a better terrain? Oracle. Small taming, creating success. Dense clouds without rain come from my western altars. To tame is to restrain and also to accumulate and nurture. It's what the farmer does. Here the small farmer cultivates the soil of his own small plot, hoping the offerings made at the western altars will bring rain. The Zhao people, like the clouds, came from the west. Before they were ready to receive the mandate of heaven and bring about change, they prepared for many decades, cultivating their society like earth. So a time of small taming brings great hope for future growth and success. It's just that, at present, there is no rain, only clouds, and all they have brought so far is gloom. This means small restraint, the experience of small, frustrating setbacks and things that don't quite work yet. However, this also brings advice to cultivate the situation and yourself in small ways, developing your readiness and fitness just as a small farmer works the soil. You can't make things grow in a single gesture, and so you need self-restraint. You have to work steadily, responding conscientiously to the realities here at ground level, caring for the small details. Image, wind moves above heaven, small taming. A noble one cultivates the natural pattern of character. The wind moves above heaven. It doesn't yet bring rain to earth. It is directed by the inner creative force of heaven, naturally moving with it. Inwardly, there are unchanging principles. Outwardly, your actions gradually take on the shape of those inner principles. This is self-cultivation that aligns you with a creative power. It concentrates on growing potential rather than bringing about results. Sequence. Small taming follows from Hexagram 8, seeking union. Seeking union naturally has occasion to tame things, and so small taming follows. You have freely chosen where you belong and with whom, following your natural affinities. Now, if any of the potential you were drawn to is to be realized, you need to begin the detailed work. After the homesteader has entered virgin territory and chosen his own plot, he must get up next morning and every morning to work the soil, one weed at a time. Pair. Small taming forms a pair with Hexagram 10, treading. Small taming is solitary. Treading does not come to rest. Seeking to relate to the power that will make greater things possible, first you prepare alone and learn its nature. Then you develop the capacity to move with it constantly. Next, we will look at Liu I-ming's Taoist I Ching that he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. It is alchemical-like in substance. Nurturance by the small. Nurturance by the small is developmental. Dense clouds do not rain, proceeding from one's own western province. Explanation. Nurturance by the small is making the small one's nourishment. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is wind, submissive, below is heaven, strong. Being strong yet acting submissively, the submissiveness subdues the strength, and strength cannot act on its own. Therefore it is called nurturance by the small, which also means being held back by the small. This hexagram represents nurturing the great by the small. It follows on the previous hexagram, army. The path of the army is using yang to repel yin, for which it is important to first nourish the yang. When one is able to nourish the yang, then one keeps to oneself by the small, full but not overflowing, firm but not aggressive, having yet appearing not to have, full yet seeming empty. The heart grows daily humbler, while the virtue grows daily higher. One can thereby gradually get to the realm of sages. This is why nurturance by the small is developmental. However, though nurturance by the small is developmental, if the smallness is excessive, this is doing things weakly, so that the path of firmness recedes from its proper place. The will is not robust, and one becomes feeble and ineffective. With the nurturance small, the development is small, so that the action is not far-reaching, and the great Tao is therefore hard to attain. This is like dense clouds not raining, proceeding from one's own western province. Yin energy coalesces as clouds, yang energy arrives as rain. As long as clouds do not rain, the yin energy is prevalent while the yang energy is weak, and the living potential is on the verge of cessation. That which is near in oneself is not even taken care of, so how could one seek that which is afar in the other? When one small empty voidness enters into quietism, how can one restore one's celestial original state? So one must know the process of nurturance by the small. We'll also look at the commentary section for small nurturance, which I've turned directly to, apparently. Small nurturance, wind above, heaven below. Wind blowing up in the sky is small nurturance. Thus do superior people beautify cultured qualities. Small nurturance is smallness of development. Above is wind, below is heaven. This is wind blowing up in the sky. When wind blows on the earth by its circulation of air to myriad beings, its nurturance is extensive. When it blows up in the sky, it can only relieve heat, so its nurturance is small. This is the image of small nurturance. What superior people see in this is that the science of fulfilling nature and comprehending life is the great work of appropriating yin and yang, taking over evolution, reversing the process of life and death, taking charge of the pivotal mechanism. It cannot be carried out by those who have not received mental transmission of the science. But if great nurturance is impossible, then small nurturance is still called for, whereby to beautify cultured qualities. Beautification means adornment. Culture means the pattern of manners and conduct. Even though manners and conduct are not the great matter of cultivation of spiritual virtue, nevertheless, those who cultivate spiritual virtue should not slight manners and conduct. Examples of cultured qualities are being equanimous and agreeable in dealing with people, being respectful and serious in performing service, being thorough and precise in activity, being careful and prudent in speech, concealing one's strength and acting with flexibility, observing what has gone before and being mindful of consequences, being serene and unhurried. One will naturally not act in any way that is impetuous or causes loss of character. This is like the wind blowing in the sky, relieving the heat. When one cultivates one's character to the point where irascibility and impetuosity vanish, then one is capable of small nurturance and also capable of great nurturance. Next, we will look at James Dekorne's Gnostic Book of Changes. I've left links to it in the description box below. He is a practitioner of the Tao himself, and he has synthesized several I Ching commentaries in this one helpful spot, which, again, you can access online if you so choose. If I could get the site to work. I did download this onto the tablet here, just in case the site doesn't work or whatnot. So let's see if I can find that. doing? Give me just a moment here. Apologies. There it is. I have it opened just in case. Perfect. All right. But there will be some scrolling. Or I could probably just go down this side and make it a lot quicker. Oh my God, I'm at 43. 15. We're getting there. Here we are. Passive restraint. That's what he calls it. Hexagram number 9, passive restraint. Other titles might be the taming power of the small, the symbol of small restraint, the lesser nourisher, taming the small powers, small accumulating, small harvest, small obstruction, nurturance by the small, restraint by the weak, restrained, minor restraint, the weak force, the force of the small, weak forces restrain strong forces. And a quote from D.F. Hook, the restraint is small, success follows. Overcoming something small which is poisoning or nagging, partially relieving a situation, influencing that which cannot change. Judgment, leg. Passive restraint brings about progress and success. We see dense clouds, but no rain coming from our western borders. Blowfold, the lesser nourisher, success. Dense clouds giving forth no rain approach from the western outskirts. On the whole, this hexagram presages good for us. The wind blowing across the heavens does not have the nourishing virtues of rain, but it refreshes us and makes us feel better. Thus, if things are going reasonably well with us, we may expect an improvement, especially in the future when, presumably, the nourishing rain will fall. However, as lines 3 and 6 indicate, if we are in serious trouble, we must not expect much help from the rather mild good fortune that is blowing our way. The conception of something weak or yielding bringing great benefit has been greatly developed by the Taoists who, as though they were familiar with judo, recognized the strength to be found in softness and the dangerous weakness sometimes occasioned by too much strength. The name of this hexagram, understood somewhat differently, may also be taken to mean that the time is propitious for undertaking additional activity or the care of the young. Ritsuma/Karcher, small accumulating, growing, shrouding clouds, not raining, originating from my western suburbs. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of a variety of seemingly unconnected events and impulses. It emphasizes that retaining and hoarding these experiences through adapting to them is the adequate way to handle it. The image, leg. The image of the sky with the wind moving above it forms passive restraint. The superior man, in accordance with this, adorns the outward manifestation of his virtue. Wilhelm/Baines, the wind drives across heaven, the image of the taming power of the small. Thus the superior man refines the outward aspect of his nature. Ritsuma/Karcher, wind moving above heaven, small accumulating. A Chun-Tzu, or chief son or superior person, uses highlighting the pattern to actualize Tao. And to actualize Tao is the ability to follow the course traced by the ongoing process of the cosmos, linked with acquire, acquiring that which makes a being become what it is meant to be. I'll probably say this again if I remember, but it seems as though we're tracing synchronicities. It almost seems like accumulating all of a bunch of seemingly unrelated situations, seemingly unconnected events and impulses. It emphasizes that retaining and hoarding these experiences through adapting to them is the adequate way to handle it. And then also the one I just read, which is uses highlighting the pattern to actualize Tao. So we're finding a pattern in events that might otherwise seem disconnected. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. In the ninth hexagram, the magnetic line takes her proper place, and all the lines below and above obey her. Hence the name passive restraint. The figure is composed of the trigrams of strength plus flexibility. Dynamic lines occupy the central places, and their will is accomplished. This means progress and success. Dense clouds but no rain depict the advancing dynamic lines, but their source in the west shows that their beneficial influence has yet to be felt. Leg. The symbolism of the hexagram passive restraint is taken from the magnetic line in the fourth place, which holds all of the dynamic lines in restraint. This is because the fourth place is properly passive, magnetic, and the response of the other lines is therefore one of submission to her authority. The second sentence of the judgment indicates the time and place of King Wen, whose homeland was the western portion of China in the 12th century BC. Rain coming and moistening the ground causes the luxuriant growth of the natural world and symbolizes the blessings which flow from good government. Therefore, from the west, the hereditary territory of the legendary author of the I Ching, come the blessings which might enrich the whole kingdom. Here, however, they are somehow restrained. The dense clouds do not yet empty their stores. Chang Su, Wang Fang, and other scholars say, in effect, dense clouds should give rain. That they exist without doing so shows the restraining influence of the hexagram at work. But the dynamic influence of the other lines still continues, and the rain will eventually fall. The wind moves in the sky and then ceases. It can restrain for a time, but not indefinitely. Clary 1. Being strong yet acting submissively, the submissiveness subdues the strength, and strength cannot act on its own. The heart grows daily humbler, while the virtue grows daily higher. One can thereby gradually get to the realm of sages. This is why nurturance by the small is developmental. Clary 2. When you encounter situations that obstruct you and bog you down, if you do not get resentful or bitter, but just nurture yourself to digest them, you will be successful. Indeed, events and situations that formerly obstructed you can become means of self-development. This is how you succeed. This line indicates the value of not grabbing for easy success and the value of long-term results. Wu, restraint of the small means literally small accumulation or small restraint. Small is another name for yin. Small accumulation or small restraint can also mean accumulation or restraint of the yin. When there are clouds but no rain, it means that something has intervened and prevented the cycle from completion. The judgment simply means many factors can derail a potential success, and we should weigh them carefully before making a decision. Anthony, our influence is limited by the circumstances. We should avoid ambition to make progress, as this exerts a negative pressure on people. It also indicates that we do not yet trust our path of non-action or the power of truth to change the situation. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Power is accumulated by gently withholding its expression. The superior man transforms his insights into components of his conscious will, or he works on his outer, conscious as opposed to inner, unconscious awareness, or he lives his beliefs. Wilhelm's translation of the title of this hexagram is The Taming Power of the Small. I have substituted passive restraint as a phrase more compatible with contemporary English. The titles rendered by the other translators, in my opinion, do not convey the meaning of the hexagram. Lu's Taming the Small Powers even seems diametrically opposed to it, though it is obvious that the title has multiple meanings. In describing the action of the trigrams in this hexagram, Wilhelm conveys its essential meaning from lectures on the I Ching. The function of wind is to tame creative forces, to accumulate these and to make them visible. It is exceedingly difficult to understand this relationship of forces because the power used here is not expressed with might, but it is the softest, gentlest force imaginable. Wind is the least visible of all phenomena, and this invisible wind is now needed to concentrate that which strives upward, the strongest of all phenomena. The unconscious acts and creates as it must, and we should submit to the surgings of its waves. Only in the peripheral region, in the small free zone of consciousness, can work be taken up each day, and whatever needs refining can be refined. This is not superfluous work. Although this small zone of consciousness and freedom is only a thin rind, its contact with the forces of the unconscious is vigorous. Hence, that which is seemingly small and insignificant is, after all, the power that succeeds in taming chaos by means of steady work and perseverance. Lines 1 through 4 of the 9th hexagram show different forms of restraint during a time of building tension. The dark clouds are accumulating, and we know that eventually the rain will fall and the tension will be released. Rain always symbolizes a union between heaven and earth in the I Ching, which in turn means a synthesis of some sort. In the present instance, the synthesis is still building, and although the tension seems to demand action, we are counseled to remain still. The magnetic force must hold the overwhelming pressure of the dynamic forces in check. The 5th line depicts the focal point at which the forces are gathered, and the 6th line shows the restraint necessary to allow the new transformation to stabilize. If we turn the hexagram over, we get cautious advance, which depicts a different situation in which very careful action is called for. In the present instance, however, no action is correct action. Through the activity of divine providence, an abundance of blessing descends on the creatures. But this awakening of the power of providence is dependent on the deeds of created beings, on awakening from below. That was a quote from Gershom Scholem in Kabbalah. And since we only got one hexagram for our reading, that highly emphasizes that hexagram for us.
On it.
Thanks. We will get a randomly card drawn verse from the Tao Te Ching as we sum up the reading. Nurturance of the small, or nurturance by the small, shows Qian heaven below Xun, wind or wood. And wind, being low to the ground, is able to affect things and bring nurturance a lot easier. But up in the sky, all it can do is relieve heat. And so there's this idea that there are these dark clouds ready to release their store of rain onto the earth. And that rain is connected to the idea of heaven and earth communing in some way, there being a connection between the two. And since the rain is restrained in the clouds currently, it will rain eventually, but at the time, no action is called for because it's accumulating. And so in this accumulating stage, there are things that can be done. We can work on our, what did it say? Our manners. And in I-ming's Taoist teaching, he says, manners and conduct. Beautification means adornment. Culture means the pattern of manners and conduct. Even though manners and conduct are not the great matter of cultivation of spiritual virtue, nevertheless, those who cultivate spiritual virtue should not slight manners and conduct. Examples of cultured qualities are being equanimous and agreeable in dealing with people, being respectful and serious in performing service, being thorough and precise in activity, being careful and prudent in speech. Concealing one's strength and acting with flexibility, observing what has gone before and being mindful of consequences, being serene and unhurried, one will naturally not act in any way that is impetuous or causes loss of character. This is like the wind blowing in the sky, relieving the heat. When one cultivates one's character to the point where irascibility and impetuosity vanish, then one is capable of small nurturance and also capable of great nurturance. So in a time where great nurturance isn't quite possible, the way we get ahead is that we continue to cultivate these manners and, I literally just read it. Manners and conduct, is that what it said? Manners and... we cultivate those things in ourselves during a state where nothing else can really be done, but we don't act externally in the world in connecting with people or advancing anything, pushing anything to happen. In other words, we just let things accumulate. Yeah. Manners and conduct. Yep. And I did want to take a look at this because James Dekorne's Gnostic Book of Changes, he talks about a few places it comes up in other commentaries that he synthesized here. I'll read this because it looks great. On the whole, this hexagram presages good for us. The wind blowing across the heavens does not have the nourishing virtues of rain, but it refreshes us and makes us feel better. Thus, if things are going reasonably well with us, we may expect an improvement, especially in the future when, presumably, the nourishing rain will fall. However, as lines 3 and 6 indicate, if we are in serious trouble, we must not expect much help from the rather mild good fortune that is blowing our way. The conception of something weak or yielding bringing great benefit has been greatly developed by the Taoists who, as though they were familiar with judo, recognized the strength to be found in softness and the dangerous weakness sometimes occasioned by too much strength. The name of this hexagram, understood somewhat differently, may also be taken to mean that the time is propitious for undertaking additional activity or the care of the young. This hexagram describes our situation in terms of a variety of seemingly unconnected events and impulses. It emphasizes that retaining and hoarding these experiences through adapting to them is the adequate way to handle it. And the other thing that ties to that is wind moving above heaven, small accumulating. A Chunsu or chief son or superior person uses highlighting the pattern to actualize Tao. And to actualize Tao is the ability to follow the course traced by the ongoing process of the cosmos. Linked with acquire, D, acquiring that which makes a being become what it is meant to be. So in a time such as this, it would make sense to take a look at the seemingly disconnected events and impulses and to retain and hoard them through adapting to them, that being the adequate way to handle it, and that we are to highlight the pattern, essentially, to actualize Tao, and which would be the ability to follow the course traced by the ongoing process of the cosmos and become what a being is meant to become. The function of wind is to tame creative forces, to accumulate these and to make them visible. It is exceedingly difficult to understand this relationship of forces because the power used here is not expressed with might, but it is the softest, gentlest force imaginable. Wind is the least visible of all phenomena, and this invisible wind is now needed to concentrate that which strives upward, the strongest of all phenomena. The unconscious acts and creates as it must, and we should submit to the surgings of its waves. Only in the peripheral region, in the small free zone of consciousness, can work be taken up each day, and whatever needs refining can be refined. This is not superfluous work. Although this small zone of consciousness and freedom is only a thinned rind, its contact with the forces of the unconscious is vigorous. Hence, that which is seemingly small and insignificant is, after all, the power that succeeds in taming chaos by means of steady work and perseverance. And then the quote from Gershom Scholem in Kabbalah, through the activity of divine providence, an abundance of blessing descends on the creatures. But this awakening of the power of providence is dependent on the deeds of created beings, on awakening from below. It has been dry for quite some time, and it's supposed to rain today, and overnight it did rain just a little bit, but it was just pretty much a light sprinkle. So it's almost like the weather is mimicking, or vice versa, this hexagram. and it being highlighted, since we didn't get any changing lines, I would say that now would be a time to nurture character and manners and conduct, which may not work on the heart of things per se, but they allow us to not slip in a time where we might otherwise do so if we are really, really out there with ourselves at a time where things need to be building in, just like rain building in the clouds, that kind of idea. And we're not matching the pattern of the time, which is to restrain sort of and hold that rain for the time where it's meant to fall. We aren't really acting with the flow of the Tao. So the idea here is to just work internally for the time being with the energy that we do have before it can be translated outward into our world. It's kind of like that idea that subduing chaos was what it said, that through this small period of time that we're able to work and do things in the conscious realm, like when we're awake, for instance, and focused on such things, we may have less of an influence than the unconscious has on us, but we have a way of working with it in that small sliver of opportunity in that conscious space. And that can help us stay focused on things we should stay focused on and not act prematurely, and to develop ourselves so that when the time is ripe for acting, take these, that we will not have lost ground and will be ready to act. We will read chapter 6 from the Tao Te Ching. I just recently got this. My wife got it for me as a gift. It's from Benjamin Hoff. We'll read from it. He has about 5 hexagrams that he doesn't translate. Luckily, this is one that he does, because he doesn't think that they were written from Lao Tzu, I believe is what he was saying. The Valley Spirit. The Valley Spirit does not die. She is called the mysterious female. Her gait is called the connection between heaven and earth. Like down or cotton, soft, soft, yet strong and lasting as silken floss. Spinning, spinning, thin and long, she continues on and on. Use her power and your work will not be hard. We'll also look at it through the lens of Jia Fu Feng and Jane English. The Valley Spirit never dies. It is the woman, primal mother. Her gateway is the root of heaven and earth. It is like a veil barely seen. Use it. It will never fail.